Hey all, here OS Reviews. Today we're taking a quick look at the GravaStar Alpha 65. This is a 65-watt fast USB Type-C charger powered by GaN. Although chargers in general are nothing new and perhaps not super exciting, it's really the design of this one that caught my attention. This brand, GravaStar, does specialize in sci-fi, cyberpunk-inspired products, such as their Venus mini Bluetooth speaker that we also reviewed a couple months back. And at 65 watts, it will be able to charge not only smartphones, but also most laptops, including MacBooks as well. Using Power Delivery 3.0, it should be smart enough that the charging stops once your battery reaches 100%. And it retails for around $40 a pop, which isn't too bad, I'd say, for a novel fast charger. So in the box here, we have just the Alpha charger itself. We'll take a closer look at this in a moment. You also get the two little antenna fins, which you can attach onto the top using magnets. Setting that aside for now, and there's just a quick user guide. Just a brief tour of some of the claimed functionality here. It does also have a USB Type-A port, so that's in addition to the two Type-C ports, although the 65 watts is the maximum output, which means if you have all three ports occupied, it will be splitting the wattage between them. Nonetheless, this will be a universal charger for pretty much any device, including, again, phones, computers that you plug it into. That USB Type-A port, by the way, maxes out at 18 watts, which is relatively standard. And with the aforementioned Alpha itself, we can attach these fins. It pops in with a click. Afterwards, they stay in place quite well, and they are fully rotatable. So you are able to position everything yourself, get it at an angle that you like. It's almost like an action figure or a Lego figure that transforms it into a bit of a toy or a collectible, aside from being only a charger, that is. And otherwise, the feet of the robot, you are also able to pull upwards like this, so they can stand upright at this angle, which is just super cute. And just like the Venus speaker from before, there are a lot of small accents and detail work going on. It's pretty well built out of this polycarbonate plastic and has a reasonable heft to it. The eyes there on the front says mecha, and then plenty of these tiny little gears that are printed on here for the feet, and the little arms here that also says be cool, play it, as well on both sides. Here's what it looks like on the very back. Also says GravaStar, and then we have just some additional little accent pieces stamped on. The very bottom here for the feet, I would say maybe if they could add a soft touch rubber in the future, it could make it even better if you are putting it on slippery surfaces, but it does the job. And then we have just a little bit of branding, including the ratings that we saw there before from their website, along with the prongs that you can fold inwards. So we have by default the US variant of this charger, but there's also other variants, including UK, Australian, that you can also pick between. Furthermore, you can even pull on the feet like this to position it at some extra angles, plus also move the position of the arm downwards as well, and that will let it kind of sit like this, a little bit higher up, as you can tell. So it is quite easy to customize in terms of how you want this guy to be tilted, either facing upwards or downwards. It is pretty flexible, and again, just very fun to play around with for a small charger. So for example, here's what it looks like when you plug it into the wall. Still extremely cute, and a very tight connection. The moment that you plug it in, the eyes will start to light up. It doesn't really change any other color or brightness though. We'll also try plugging in a cable here using that fast 65-watt Type-C port, and you can tell that fast charging has been initiated and charging up most modern phones, in fact, in around an hour, just depending on the battery capacity that you have inside. But it is, again, worth mentioning that maybe there are some Chinese smartphone brands, including, say, Xiaomi and Oppo, with their rapid charging tech that can surpass even 65 watts, getting upwards of, say, 100, 200, 240 watts. So obviously on those smartphones, which are more limited, you could find faster charging tech through those manufacturers' stores. But those are edge cases. The vast majority of devices from brands like Samsung, Pixel phones from Google, this is already more than sufficient. Granted, I would say if they could consider some future generation models, it could make maybe the shell even transparent, perhaps more elements glow in the dark that could make it look even cooler. But in terms of charging speed, it does in fact get the advertised 65 watt output. And by the way, this is what it looks like. If we turn off all the lights, you'll see just these two little dots shining. It will charge any ultra portable using Type-C without too many issues either. So for example, I have a Google Pixel book, and you can see that the charging indication there has started, and in fact you can work while charging your computer at the same time. And here's an example of 3 cables plugged in at once and charging 3 products, again maximum at 65 watts, so it might be a little bit slower for the Type-C getting split if you are charging both a laptop and a phone simultaneously, but still works. And the charger itself doesn't get too hot either. It gets a little bit warmer as it's going through the maximum output, but never really overheats and still is safe to operate. If anything though, I did find the first 2 USB Type-C ports a little bit close to each other, which means if you have a cable which is a bit thicker, they may start to interfere a bit with one another. Maybe they can make these 2 ports just spaced apart a tad more. In a future generation model, it could make it even more safe. There's also something a little bit cool about unplugging the unit, and because it is using energy efficient LEDs, it will glow for a few extra seconds really before the power runs out and it turns completely off. Really though, it's the design that stands out, since again chargers are a dime a dozen, but this just turns the mundane into something a little bit more playful and fun, especially if you are a fan of the aesthetic, of sci-fi and cyberpunk. I think GravaStar in general have a lot of unique products under their collection. So you can check out more details if you are interested, and links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been their Alpha 65 65 watt GaN charger.